Hello, I'm Brian Stewart and I'm currently President of the Angus Writers Circle, which is based here in Arbroath. Angus writers work across a number of genres, fiction, non-fiction and poetry. We write novels, short stories and articles. Amongst our members, many have achieved national recognition and usually feature amongst the prize winners at national events. In the past, we've done a couple of anthologies of our writing, and 2 years ago we decided it was time to do another. COVID got in the way a bit, but finally here it is. In here you'll find short stories, shorter stories and poems. Some will make you laugh, some will make you happy, some will make you a bit sad, but all of them will make you think. On our Facebook page we'll let you know how you can buy the book, and it's a limited edition, so get in there fast. We hope you enjoy our writing.
The Declaration of Arbroath. For so long as there be but 100 of us remain alive, we will never give consent to subject ourselves to the domination of the English. For it is not glory, it is not riches, neither is it honour, but it is freedom alone that we fight and contend for, which no honest man will lose but with his own life. These words were written in Latin in a letter to Pope John the 22nd in Avignon, dated 6th of April 1320. The document is recognised as the Declaration of Arbroath, as it had been written here in the monastery at Arbroath Abbey by Abbot Bernard de Langton, Chancellor of Scotland, confirming Scotland's status as an independent sovereign country and defending its right to use military action when unjustly attacked. It was signed by the seals of 13 barons and 8 earls, with a further 11 others defending the right for the country's independence. Despite suffering defeat at Stirling in 1297 and at Bannockburn in 1314, Kings Edward I and II of England refused to accept Robert the Bruce as the rightful king of the Scottish people and made many advances to claim the Scottish crown. The Pope urged Edward II to make peace, but it was not until 1328 that Scotland's independence was finally acknowledged. A copy of the Declaration, also known as the Letter of Barons, made at the time of the original, which was sent to Avignon, is kept at Register House, Edinburgh. Due to its frailty, it is not kept on display for fear of deterioration. However, it is planned to release the document for a brief time to commemorate the 700 years celebration.
My name's Lynn Valentine. I'm going to read a series of haiku, snippets from my childhood, and they're called Arbroath 1974. A million children catch bees in honeyed fields, jam jars full of pain. A clutch of mothers hover by the harbour wall, deal on the day's catch. The stench of smoked fish torments the streets by the shore. Seagulls argue, jab. Threats at the chip shop, the gang armed with bravado, Friday tea postponed. Red cliffs weave away from town, a fret of tourists make a sharp exit. The 3-day week waits behind the door, catch of candlelight, singed hair.
Hi, I'm Anne Craig, and this is a poem about where I live, called Auchmithy. It's that kind of time. The haar coils round our hearts, makes a mystery of a day. No vistas of lapping waves to save us from introspection, the air wet on our tongues. We walk through it, hands held, made ghosts by silver droplets clinging to our eyelashes. Supernatural stillness, suspended voices not carried in the becalmed air. A black cat sits on our path, intent, ears strained in the eerie silence. From the invisible rocks above comes a tumbling demon, bold in her righteous motherhood. A gull swoops low over our heads towards the frozen feline. In a heartbeat, they're both gone, blurring into a swirl of soft, pale air. Faintly from above, we hear the baby cry. It's that kind of time. Sunset billows, a smoke-filled blaze. We sit on the cliff top wrapped in clouds, part of the conflagration. Birds sing their farewells, a truce till the dawn revels. Tomorrow, the summer solstice will steal the limelight. The moon, barely glimpsed in wet-filled clouds, is already looking chaste. Below, we hear a mother fox bark a warning to her cubs.
Hi, my name is Sandra Ireland, and this is a piece inspired by the beach where I live. It's called New Year Duke. It is an inclement day in January, one of those days you hear about on the news, the coldest day since records began, boasted of almost proudly by some broadcaster anchored to a desk in an overheated studio. That doesn't come close to describing it, that elemental blast when you open the door, the freezing wind that nearly shucks off your exposed skin. On mornings such as this, I dress like a polar explorer just to walk my prescribed mile along the shore. Not an exercise regime, more of a mental torture. Stalk would be a more accurate term, a sort of predatory patrol, as if by some miracle I will lay eyes on you, slumped on the sand. Gently smooth the wet hair from your brow like they do in the movies, and heft you staggering to a place of safety. None of this will ever happen, I know that. So every day I stalk the strand, blinking against the cold lash of the weather, boots leaving heavy gouges in the sand. Sometimes I turn my head to stare at the sea, that dark, unfeeling, monstrous swell. Let myself get close enough to stare it into the cruel eye of the beast. I have unanswered questions. Today, this cold, inhospitable day, I have company. A minibus is parked on the grass as near as it can get to the beach. The doors open and out tumble a circus of humans in varying states of undress. Speedos, bare torsos, spindly white legs in Victorian bathing suits. One of them is even done up like a crocodile in a fancy dress costume. As the others race each other down to the sea, he pauses to don his crocodile head. The teeth glint at me in a smarmy smile. A bit like the sea, they look innocent enough, but with a hidden snap. What on earth are you doing? I cannot believe what I'm seeing, all these people voluntarily surging into the waves. This is madness. The man whips off his mask and grins at me, flashing his own teeth. It's for charity. We do it every year. The New Year Duke raises a lot of money for good causes. My own teeth are chattering. But the sea, it will swallow you up. It's dangerous. You have no idea. You're missing the point. What do you mean? I get it. It's for charity, but nah, not that. It's not the going in that's the good bit. Nobody wants to dive into a wild, freezing sea in the middle of January. No, I say quietly, you'd have to be desperate. It's the coming out. He places a hand on my arm. It's comforting. It's the sheer vibrant joy of coming out. You feel alive, reborn. You should try it. Life is for the living. Yes, I see what you mean. My eyes follow the laughing craziness of the January Dukas. They're splashing each other, screaming, very much alive. The sea has lost a bit of its power. Yes, I say, thank you. I'll think about that.
Hello, my name is Richard Jennings, and I wrote this while sitting having my lunch on the Beach Boulevard in Aberdeen. It's called Supply Chain, a short prose. Sitting high like sentinels on the horizon, inert save the silent rotation with each changing tide, waiting patiently for the harbour master to decide. Decision made, The pilot and his tug manoeuvre them with skill to sit in line at Regent's Quay, with funnels reeking and bulldog noses sniffing Market Street. Stevedores with trucks and cranes converge to unload waste, broken bits, and parts from boring wells. With bulging pockets, crewmen disembark. In dockside pubs and clubs, they leave their mark. Watchful black-headed gulls sit atop alighting towers as quayside cranes replenish supplies for hungry offshore men and machines. Low in the water, they slip away unnoticed, apart from the escorting, screeching gulls, harbour master and pilot.
Hi, I'm Leslie Holmes, and this is a prose poem called Waiting for Decommission. The first cleaved a path from the offshore deep to waters calm, a jack-up rig with steel legs higher than a high-rise, extending into the east coast cloud-dappled skies. What wonder, when the metallic interloper docked, cranes twisting and spinning like slow-motion dancers. It brought an excitement of sorts, a financial boost for the port, money for the town, jobs for the jobless. When the sun's dying glimmer slipped into an indigo sky, this spiritless giant was reborn a beacon of beauty, a jester dressed in motley, spreading starry splendor into the black velvet of the night. In the passing years, many have come and gone and come back again, steel monuments that break the lush green panorama of the kingdom's rolling hills. A decade after the first cruised up the river, diminishing demand for the viscous liquid bequeaths to the town redundant effigies waiting for decommission.
Hello, my name's Gillian Duff. This is an extract from a non-fiction article called Remember December 59. Just after 2 a.m. on December the 8th, 1959, the North Car lightship broke its mooring in a severe storm and started to drift in heavy seas. This engineless vessel was moored offshore to protect ships from the North Car Rock, located in the North Sea between the Firth of Forth and the Tay estuary. The crew of 6 on board tried to drop an anchor to stop the ship from being blown onto the rocks on the Fife coastland, but to no avail. So, in increasingly difficult conditions, they radioed for help. The Mona shouldn't have been called out to sea that night, but the conditions were so harsh that the Anstruther and Arbroath lifeboats could not be launched. So it fell to the volunteer crew from Broughty Ferry to try to save their fellow sailors. The Mona was launched at 3:15. She headed down the Tay and out to sea, desperate to save the 6-man crew of the North Car lifeboat, which was being blown towards treacherous rocks. The light vessel fired flares to show Mona their position, but little could be seen in the giant swell. About 7 minutes later, Mona radioed that she was heading downriver at 6 knots, but could see no sign of the North Car. From the shore, the Carnoustie Coast Guard, David Mearns, realised that the Mona was making slow progress in the difficult conditions and frequently lost sight of the boat, which was dwarfed by the mountainous waves. However, at 4:40 a.m, he saw her turn south into South St Andrews Bay. The North Car lightship sent up another flare, and at 4:48 a.m, the lifeboat Mona radioed that she had cleared the bar and spotted the flare. That was the last message from the Mona. After this, nothing more was heard from the crew, despite repeated calls over the radio from the Coast Guard. By this time, the crew of the North Car had managed to secure an anchor, which was holding, but the Mona's fate was a mystery. At first light, a search was started. At about 8:40 a.m, Coast Guard in Carnoustie spotted a vessel on Budden Ness, a sandy area to the north side of the Tay estuary. A helicopter was sent to search for the Mona, and footage from Pathé News shows the lifeboat sitting upright on the beach with very little damage. However, the crew had not survived the horrendous conditions.
Forfar. They're quiet now, the shores of Forfar. No grinding glacial boulders gouge their path, nor blazing lava spout and flow to form the cherished contours of our native land. They're quiet now, the shores of Forfar, where once the stilted crannogs stood, safe homes for early fisher folk, when woods around held fierce marauding tribesmen, wolves and bears. They're quiet now, the shores of Forfar, as in the days of Margaret, Saint and Queen, who built a chapel on the island here to pray apart from Malcolm's worldly court. They're quiet now, the shores of Forfar, but once the regicidal traitors fled from nearby glams to perish tumbling through the snow-clad ice, we dredge their weapons still. They're quiet now, the shores of Forfar, but on the beach a stark memorial stands to partying young folk, seized by righteous powers that were, and burned to death for witchcraft. They're quiet now, the shores of Forfar, though local maidens used to dance, barefoot and garlanded, each 19th day of June, to honour Margaret on her special day. It's pleasant now to visit Forfar, where ospreys fish and otters pad the shore. Dog walkers wend their way round lochside paths, oblivious of their forebears' joys and woes.
Witches goodbye. It took 7 days to say goodbye. First, I pulled all the hair for the hairbrush, let it fly away on the wind. I shook the quilt, it sighed. One solitary feather floated out, was lost. I retuned the radio, enjoyed the static, new voices telling me new things. I raked out the fire, reset it, all burnt to ashes ditched. I scrubbed the laundry bag, thick with remembered intimacies. I drank that bottle of bubbly, let the fizz dance in my veins. I built a fire with nae guy, whirled like a dervish round the flames. On the 8th day, I boiled bones for soup.
Hello, my name is Lynn Valentine. I'm going to read a poem about potato picking. I used to go potato picking with my family when I was small. The poem's in Scots and it's called Howkers. By the age of 4, I was happit up in blankets, cooried in a cradle of shaws, watching my mother, sisters and brother, how cantaties for a' they were worth. I shared my peace wi' a moose, took pity on her, rinning the length o' the field. She hunkered doon wi' me, nibbled on a crumb or twa afore she took her leave. Nane but me wearied for her, the rest intent on their work. Horns scooping, arms pooing, backs bendit to the quickening o' earth.
Hello, I'm Jerry Jackson. This is a piece of prose that was inspired by the medieval kitchens at Glamis Castle, called Never Had It So Good. Ian had never known warm or full or clean before he came to Glamis. Living in a draughty hovel with his 10 brothers and sisters, he worked on a small plot of land, growing turnips, their everyday food, made in brown water with green scum from the stream, rarely fortified with scraggy rabbit, his brother goat. His thin, dirty smock gave no protection against the icy breeze. He didn't know why he'd been called, but blessed the process every day of his life. His work was whatever someone else said it was, fetching, carrying, stirring and basting for the cook, or the basics of bringing in the logs for the cooking fire. The task he disliked most was bringing the water from the deep well many times a day. A bucket needed to be lowered slowly, time allowed for it to fill, then wind it up so his partner could grab the hook and repeat and unhook it. Repeat as often as 30 times a day. He looked at his flayed hands. John was right. They were hardening up, a small price to pay for the benefits. Most of his work was indoors. The water he drank, sweet and clear. Although he sat at the end of the line, the pottage of leftover vegetables and meat juices, tasty and filling. The nook where he slept by the great hearth, cozy, warm and comfortable. Every night he prayed to a benevolent God the priest spoke to every Sabbath, and his unknown benefactor.
I'm Victoria Lothian, and this is my poem, The Bothy. Broken feet in sodden boots, blistered and bruised, resolved to carry the weight of mist. Churning clouds whip winds, permeating bones, frozen stiff. But not the heart, not this heart, that beats tirelessly despite looming peaks above darkening valleys. Make no eye contact. Leave no trace. Gullies gush, peat bogs swallow steps. Heather springs back, defiant, gift of the wild. Eroded pilgrim meets peripheral isolation. The bothy, tiny heart cocooned in stone, beats blood back to the extremities. Rested, I rise to bear the mist.
Hello, my name is Christine Finlay, and I have a prose piece called After the Games. The beaches swayed like silvered ghosts in the September moonlight. Archie pecked and stotted his way up the steep Newton Brae in the rough direction of home. It had been a grand day. The pipes skirled in his head, the dancers twirled round his brain, criss-crossing through Paddyda and Highland flings, muscle-bound heavyweights whirled the hammer and tossed the caper to thunderous applause. Aye, it had been a grand day. One for the road, said his pal Jimmy. Well, one or two too many in the beer tent, but he was fine. Past Bert's cottage, cold and bleached in the moonlight, past Mad Molly's garden shed, where she banished her man when the drink was in and the wit was out. The light ahead flickered drunkenly in the shivering breeze. Archie rubbed his eyes and tried hard to focus. Staggering into the home straight, suddenly his way was blocked. He blinked, screwed up his eyes tight, and then opened them wide. But it was still there, a huge, kilted creature looming over him. The beast sprouted heather tufts from both ears. One hand clutched a set of bagpipes, and the other a large haggis, which fixed him with his cold, jellied eyes. From a long way off, Archie heard a muffled, whimpering cry. In terror, he clapped his muckle hands over his ears. There it was again, and then again, louder and clearer this time. The heel of his right hand brushed against his mouth, which gaped and closed in fish-like movements. He uncovered his ears and listened to the sound of his own voice. What seemed a long while later, he was roused by the dulcet tones of an all too familiar voice. "What the blazes are you doing here, you great gowk?" demanded Annie. "Is he gone? Tell me he's gone," pleaded Archie, greeting like a bairn. "What are you havering about?" "I'm no havering. Annie, he was here, a big, hairy Highlander in a kilting." Before he could say any more, the wife had whipped him up the brae and into bed. The moon dipped in and out the bony branches, and footsteps whispered in the night. The next morning, he drilling, Archie picked up the local paper and stared at the headline. "American tourist spots a real Highlander in the Blair." He read on. "You should have seen it. There was heather growing right out of each ear," said shocked witness Kylie Joe from Wisconsin. "Just like I knew it would. Those haggis eyes sure were something else."
My name is Leslie Holmes, and this is a poem inspired by the first lockdown in March 2020. It's called Lockdown Exercise. Beneath a bank of bruised cloud, I walk through this great pause, blinds down, curtains drawn, cars quiet on gated driveways. I linger by a lone crow, digging for nesting twigs among leaves long past their autumnal swirl. Seagulls soar in changing flight, floating, wheeling in empty skies. Budding trees resound with birdsong, now untainted by tarmac clamour. Wind whispers, rustle, conifer and pine, triggering a memory of ocean waves. I stop, listen, and like the birds, revel in this new serenity.
Hello, my name is Alan Webster. Beautiful Iona has been described as a thin place where God comes close. My poem is a haiku called Iona Haiku. Moon silvered water, the deep sound of Iona. God's Isle speaks to me.
Hello, my name is Eleanor Fordyce, and the short poem I have was prompted by a journey on the bus between Forfar and Dundee. It's called Transported. Today I cannot see my countryside. The window on the bus is specked with dust, and flecks of pattern mask the outside world. A maquillage of lacy grey conceals snatched trees and fields that flicker past. A film in dancing black and white, a whirring reel of Scotland.
Hi, my name's Sandra Ireland. This piece was inspired by the poem The Wild Geese by Violet Jacob, and it's called Wild Goose. Rough sleepers, junkies, the sad, the lonely, the dispossessed, staking a claim to a square foot of pavement, a dank, dirty slab to call their own. You walk past them, around them, stepping clear of their sleeping bags, letting your gaze slide away from theirs. They are no more to you than an overspill of rubbish or the soggy cardboard boxes stacked like Russian dolls outside the shops on bin day. Occasionally, in that moment of passing, you might wince at the discomfort of sleeping in a rainy doorway or the effects of the wind chill on bare arthritic hands. You might hazard a guess at age or circumstance, at what led them to this. Mostly you walk past without a glance in your fur-lined boots, warmed by your own good fortune and a Costa cup in your hand, the same sort of cup that they use to collect loose change. No point in tossing anything into it, they'll only buy drink or drugs. One day you will notice a man around the same age as you. His hair is white, like day-old snow, gathered into a ponytail tied with a shoelace. His beard obscures the best bits of his face, the jaw, the cheekbones, the lines that are synonymous with strength and confidence. He is a blur, fallen through the cracks. His blue eyes, the one bold thing about him. They are the colour of the sea, crow's feet like cliff edges. Do you hear it? He whispers, and you stop. You stop because none of them have ever reached out to you before. Hear what? Only traffic noise, the hum of red buses and the screech of brakes, the far-off wail of an emergency. The wind for the north. You strain to hear what he hears, and for a second you are in accord, listening. From the north? He nods, or maybe bows. Aye, it smells of the straths and the glens, the heather and the ploughed fields. I can hear the cawing of the gulls and rinning of the silver tides. I can feel the mist on my face. You look for signs of it all, for the mist on his face, but there is only a suspicion of tears. Is that where you're from? The north? The north wind smells the hame. He smiles suddenly. You carry it with you always in here. He places one soily fist against his chest. One day you will notice this man and see yourself and feel the pull of home in your own chest. And because of that, you will leave a sum of money in his Costa cup, not loose change for drink or drugs, but proper money, enough for a ticket north to the Straths and the Glens, a ticket home.
Hi, my name is Kerry Fleming, and this is a short piece based on the true story of my grandma's teeth. I'll never forget the day my mother battered me soft. It was 1942 and I was 14. Now, dinna get me wrong, I was used to getting a hiding. That was just what happened in them days. But that day was different. That day, I suppose I deserved it. My mother kent there was something wrong when I came home with a scarf wrapped tightly round my face. "What are you doing with that scarf?" she says. I didn't speak, I couldn't speak. She pulled off the scarf and I opened my mouth with a, "Oh, Christ, must have looked like the inside of Reuben Lane's The Butchers in Woodside. Read ra it was. "What the hell have you done, you bloody fool?" she screamed, battering me over the head. I was screaming in pain for both my head and my mouth. You see, I just wanted to look like my pal Mary. She'd right bonny teeth. I said to Mary, when I met her in the tune, I says, "Mary, you've got right bonny teeth." "Thanks," she says. I had bother with my teeth, but my dentist sorted me out, only £4. And fit bonny they were, straight and white and shiny. I just wanted teeth like Mary, and I've still got them. They're in a drawer next to my bed.
Past, present, continuous. The hill crest splits the sky, marking the moment the past meets the present. The path narrows and we daunder single file down the other side to a dry stone dyke. Moss scars its messy flank, brushing the hairs of my hand and his, I imagine, in that foreign country. Crescent moon pastry flakes far to his feet like snaw at the field's fallow fringes. Sunlit faces turn in shadow, finding the forest full of ancient pine trees which regard us. Boots bounce off bone-hard branch roots which tether us to the land and the buzzard to the sky. Lazy quarry slates slant, signalling a tilt of time, which brings us together in Strath more or less the same space. Different era, but both belonging in the here and now.
Well, thank you very much, folks, for listening to all of our pieces. Thank you from the Angus Writers Circle. We really enjoyed reading for you tonight. I hope you enjoy the book. There's lots more great pieces in the book to enjoy. So from all of us, hope to see you all again somewhere in Angus. Thank you and bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Great.
Was that cheesy enough?
That was definitely cheesy enough. I liked it. Did a good effect with the hands. All.
It did. It looked like angels.
Yeah.
I just got reminded. Remember that program, Celebrity Squares? I just.
But the good bit is you're putting it at the end and saying, "Was that too cheesy?"
Yeah.
An outtake. That was an outtake.
Definitely, we need some outtakes. We had no one's cats joining us on screen.
No.